practice with the idea of maybe moving around the Phillips curve or identifying different points on the Phillips curve and that sort of thing. So this is adapted from the AP macro test, question number 1. This is the same problem that we actually looked at a few pages ago in a different problem set, but we're going to return to it here because it's kind of a useful problem for looking at the Phillips curve. The U.S. economy is in long-run equilibrium. That's an important part. Expected inflation rate of 6, unemployment of 5, and interest rate 8. Assume the Fed targets a new inflation rate of 3 and sells bonds, which we identified that they would do that in a previous page. Assume the target inflation is now 3. Okay, so they fixed the inflation. What will happen to each of the following as the economy approaches a new long-run equilibrium? The short-run Phillips curve, explain, and the natural rate of unemployment. So this one is a little bit convoluted to wrap your mind around here. So let's kind of think about what's going on here. If we have the unemployment percent, and I'm drawing this because that way we can kind of see what goes on. It doesn't require you to draw it, but it's kind of a useful idea. We have an SRPC, and we have an LRPC. So the first idea here is that inflation went from 6 to 3. It went from 6 to 3. So if price levels went down, we can therefore say that wages and resources costs also went down in that sense. We also might be able to say, therefore, inflationary expectations are decreased. Because notice it's actually saying expected inflation rate. It's kind of keying us in that we should think about expecting inflation. So inflationary expectations are now lower. They went from 6 to 3. Well, both of these are SRAS shifters. And if they're both going down, SRAS is going to increase. If SRAS increase, remember IRAP, then they move opposite each other. So if this is an increase is to the right, then we should expect SRPC to shift to the left. So we've got an SRPC curve that shifts to the left. Now, this tells us exactly what we'd expect, right? Price levels went down. They went from 6 to 3. So we could actually even label that because that's the percent, 6 to 3. But what happened to the amount, right? We were at full. Now we're at full. So what happened to the natural rate? Well, it stayed the same. So we would say that SRPC shifted left. Sorry, I had to think about it. Because SRAS shifted right. Because of that stuff. Right? I'm not going to rewrite all of that stuff because we just did. And then we'd say stayed the same. There was no change because the natural rate of unemployment is going to stay the same here. Okay, now let's take a look at the second problem. Inflation and expected inflation are important. Okay, draw a correctly labeled graph of the Phillips curve. And it actually just says the short run, so that's all we have to do. UE percent, PL percent, downward slope, SRPC, done. That's easy. Show an effect of an increase in the expected rate of inflation. Well, that's the same problem that we had up here, except instead of a decrease in inflationary expectations, we have an increase. And so if there's more inflationary expectations, right, IRAP, then we know that SRAS will shift to the left, so SRPC will shift to the right. What's the effect of this increase in the expected rate of inflation on the long run curve? Well, it didn't tell us to draw one, but we can answer that. There's no change. In fact, the LRPC is not really going to change. The only thing that would change it would be the natural rate of unemployment or the non-accelerating inflation rate of unemployment. And that we can generally assume is going to stay the same. C, given the increase in the expected rate of inflation from B, will the nominal interest rate on new loans go up, down, stay the same? If there's more of an expected rate of inflation, we would expect interest rate nominal to rise in proportion to the increase in the price level, and we would expect there to be no change because to the real interest rate because the inflation increase was expected. Now, if it was an unexpected increase, right, then that could change the real interest rate in the short run because it would be an exogenous change. This is more just like everybody goes, well, I think that inflation's going to be a couple percent higher, and then it turns out to be a couple percent higher. So what the lenders do is they just increase the nominal interest rate and the real rate stays the same. So if the expected inflation rate ends up being there, then it's not a big deal on that part. For the real interest rate, there's no change there. Okay, so hopefully this helps you. I'll see you next time.